G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people, review of the week time. So, not a lot happened over the last couple of days, so it probably won't be the normal 25 minutes to half hour video. We might be lucky to scrape 20 minutes in this, but there was actually some fights on over the weekend. Golden Boy did a card. It was on the Zone. Now, I only seen the main two fights, which was Diego De La Hoya, who I believe is I think he's the cousin or nephew of Oscar De La Hoya. He fought Victor Morales. Now, De La Hoya got absolutely obliterated in 2 rounds. I've never really rated Diego De La Hoya, even when he was undefeated. He actually struck me as someone who was a bit ill-disciplined, if you know what I mean, because he missed weight, I think, more than once. I think he missed weight badly a few times as well. And to look at him fight, there's nothing majorly special that jumps out at you. You know, he's been around for, it seems, a while now. He's been around since 2013 is when De La Hoya turned over, and he got just blown out with the water here by Victor Morales. And William Zepeda fought Jaime Arbeleda. Am I saying that name wrong? But yeah, that was another demolition job. William Zepeda is a very, very fun fighter. Very, very, very fun. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't he meant to feature? I'm nearly sure I read about it when Garcia versus Davis was announced, that he was meant to be on the undercard, as was Jerome Boots Ennis. Now, maybe that was a different card, I'm not too sure, but I'm nearly sure they were meant to both feature on that card. They didn't, obviously. He's featured on this one. Demolition job for him. This is coming off the back of a win over Jojo Diaz, where, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he break CompuBox numbers for lightweights in that fight? Both guys were actually 137 pounds in that fight, but it was a very, very entertaining fight. William Zepeda, Golden Boy, they don't have the depth in their roster that they did, say, a decade ago. That's fair to say. But some of the fighters they have, like William Zepeda, are tremendously entertaining. They really are. Obviously, Victor Ortiz will be the main guy, but I don't know what's going on with him. He had that. He had a world title fight. I think it was Stanionis he was going to fight. That was meant to happen, I think, in March. Then it got pushed back to April. Then he pulled out again. I don't know if it was health reasons, because it's a worry about Ortiz, because if you were to pull outs he's had, obviously the McKinson fight was meant to happen. It did eventually happen, but it was meant to happen earlier than it did. And I believe health was the reason there too. That's a bit of a worry if you have a fighter who's pulling out of fights on a consistent basis now, let's be frank, when, he's using health as the reason. That's a bit of a worry. It's like Hughie Fury. Hughie Fury is someone who you take a fight with him at your own risk. Not in a sense of risk of injuring yourself, and because he's such a devastating puncher or anything like that. It's like you risk fighting Hughie Fury knowing full well your career could be held up for God knows how long, because he has a long track history of pulling out of fights. Normally, I think going right the way back, I think Dylan White, when he pulled, well, the fight was never actually official, but when he said he wouldn't fight Dylan White, it was because they don't fight friends. If you remember, I think it was Peter Fury said that. But for the most part, it seems like it's always been health reasons with Hughie Fury as well. And actually, speaking of Hughie Fury, I seen someone share a link to this. I think it might have been on Twitter, and I just want to see here what happened. It's off BoxRec. I thought I seen it on BoxRec because Michael Hunter apparently was in some strange type of. It was a weird one. It was like he was fighting Hasim Rahman Jr. And some were saying it was a real fight, some were saying it was an exhibition. But if it's getting to that stage now where you're literally taking on people like Hasim Rahman in potential exhibitions, that's really a bad look for Michael Hunter. It really, really is. Obviously, he had his issues with the whole Hughie Fury thing, where he was kept out of the ring because obviously they tried to get the fight over the line for July last year. Didn't happen. It was pushed back to October. Didn't happen again. He wasn't with Boxer. Now he's a bit kind of all over the place. And yeah, it's not a good look for Michael Hunter. This was a guy who, I think, following on from the Povetkin fight, he had a lot of momentum following on from that. It was a draw. bit unlucky not to get the nod, to be fair, but he had momentum. If he'd won that fight, I mean, God knows what would have happened. But the way his career has been handled, largely by him, you know, you can't turn around and say, you know, he's got a bad manager, a bad promoter. I think that Michael Hunter has made terrible decisions. You know, when he signed with Triller, I think he even alluded to it on Twitter, excuse me, that, you know, his bank balance is going to be pretty happy, or worse to that effect. Worse to the effect of he was hitting that, you know, he's getting well paid for these nothing fights. Then the Triller, which was always going to go belly up, not officially went belly up, but we pretty much know they're done with boxing. And now he's kind of in no man's land, really, in the heavyweight division. He falls into the who needs you category because he is a very, very good fighter. He is dangerous, but he brings nothing to the table. Like, but you know, you're not going to fight Michael Hunter and think like, okay, now I'm going to gain loads of fans because he's such a big name, or he's going to pay me an astronomical amount of money. It's none of that, really. It's a case of at your own risk. You know, us in the hardcore know if you beat Michael Hunter, fair play, it's a good win. He's a good fighter. But for a casual looking on, they'd just be like, well, who is this Michael Hunter guy? Oh, we lost to Usyk years ago and he's done nothing since then. That's kind of how it's going to look, you know? So we'll wait and see what happens with Michael Hunter and how things go from there. Gabe Rosado has announced that he's retired from boxing at the age of 37. Credit to Gabe Rosado. You know, Rosado, his last fight was obviously a week or so ago when he rematched Bektimir Melikuziev on the undercard of Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. He lost that fight on points. Rosado hasn't been looking good. In fact, actually, his last win was against Bektimir Melikuziev when he knocked him out in 3 rounds. He's not been looking good as of late. You know, he's been taking some beatings in there. Although he's been going the distance, he's been taking a few beatings in there. He had a loss against Shane Mosley Jr. Now, Mosley Jr. is very poor. I mean, this is a guy who narrowly lost to Jay Quigley. I mean, if you're losing to Jay Quigley, that's not good. That's not a good look at all. So he's not at any way decent level, and he's going in there and beating Gabe Rosado now. I think if it was the Gabe Rosado of a few years ago, he would have dealt with Mosley without any real problems. I think at this stage now, the wear and tear is starting to take effect, it seems, on Rosado. He's had a great career. He's been a bit unfortunate in fights. You know, against Danny Jacobs, a lot of people felt like he should have got the nod that night. His best win, you could argue, is probably... It probably is Bektimir Melikuziev, truth be told. And it was a brilliant knockout. I mean, I think that would probably be the knockout of the year for 2021, in my opinion, because it was just so against the run of play and sudden. I mean, you watched it and you just kind of jumped out of your seat. So that for me will be his best win, probably his best knockout. But Rosado, you know, he really is a throwback. He's one of those guys where he will fight anyone. He'll always come to win. He'll always come to give it a go. He will keep fighting until the last bell. And the losses don't define him. You know, he doesn't give a crap that he's got, 13, 14 losses. He still keeps trying to get that signature win. You know, he's almost got it a few times. You know, should have probably got it against Danny Jacobs. Got a good win over Melikuziev a few years ago. And he was highly rated at that stage, Melikuziev, because he was unbeaten. He was running through guys. So Rosado has had a good career. He has, and I hope I'm wrong in saying this, but I wonder, would he be possibly the last of a dying breed of these guys who just don't care? They just come to fight anyone and they'll just keep giving it a go no matter what. I hope that's not the case, because you know, you don't tend to see it as much these days with guys who, yeah, they've lost plenty of fights, but they still just have that bit between their teeth and just want to get in there and get it done. So credit to Gabe Rosado. I seen this, and this right here, I just, you know, when you see something, you just get so frustrated, because you just look at it and you just think, like, F off. Serious. Just, so, Boxing Scene article here is saying that Mauricio Sulaiman, Bivol versus Beterbiev will not involve the WBC title. We refuse to sanction the fight with Bivol. WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman has revealed that his organisation refuses to sanction a potential undisputed fight between unbeaten light heavyweight champions Beterbiev and Bivol. While both fighters are Russian, Beterbiev's lived in Canada for several years. On the other hand, Bivol is still a Russian national. So Sulaiman going down the road of fake virtue. It is fake. It's all fake with that guy. He's a clown. You know, this whole serial virtue signaling that he does. My thoughts on virtue signaling. I despise it. I despise people who are serial virtue signals. I don't like it at all. Because a lot of these don't give a damn. You know, Sullivan has given 2 fighters in the past, I can think just off the top of my head, Conor Benn and Canelo, carte blanche to do whatever they want. You know, the fact is they failed, in Conor Benn's case, multiple tests. And he's just been like, it's fine. It's fine. You know, all the while, you know, preaching, oh, WBC care, we are all for clean box, blah, 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 blah. But yet, when it's a fighter that maybe you know personally, Canelo, or a fighter who you've been a history with, his family, Conor Benn, all good. It's all good. It's all good. In fact, so bad that you even contradict what Team Ben were saying was the excuse. You know, Sullivan and these virtue signalers, they don't give a damn about anything that they're a virtue signal. They don't give a damn. They're just looking for approval. They're just looking for superficial likes on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that jazz. Look at me. Look how virtuous I am. Yeah, F off, mate. No one cares. No one cares. Just looks stupid. And at the end of the day, he's the guy who says that the WBC is all inclusive, except if you're from that country. See you later. You know, and you've idiots like that clown Lou DiBella. He's just as bad, right? He's actually, he's horrible, that man, who is, you know, bigging it up and saying, yeah, you know, they shouldn't be. It's like, mate, cop on. Cop the F on. We want to see this fight. And I think Michael Buffer said, doesn't matter if it's for undisputed. We know these are the 2 best. Kind of do a bit of an FU to WBC and just chuck that belt in the bin. Which I think will be actually probably the best thing to do. You know, I think that if more fighters just said, you know, the hell with the WBC, if they're going to make these silly rulings, and believe me, they've made some stupid rulings that have nothing to do with boxing, that have nothing to do with the safety of fighters, have nothing to do with anything in the past, just a little bit of, look at me, I'm so virtuous. If they just said, no, the hell with that, we're just chucking your belt away, he'd be pretty quick to change his tune. So I hope that that's not the case, and I hope that Sullivan, well, he's not gonna because he's an idiot, but I hope that Bivol and Beterbiev can get it on. And we want it to be undisputed, but with that, right, I just think that with that, it's such a stupid reason why the WBC won't sanction it. I don't think anyone would really mind if Bivol or Beterbiev just said the hell with that WBC title, chuck it away. You know, do you remember Naoya Inoue when he beat Nonito Donaire? They tried to give him some kind of, you know, it wasn't the WBC title, it was just some kind of cricket title, and he was just like, keep it away from me, I don't want it. When I saw that, I was like, big up Inoue. Big up Inoue. So also this week, we have Canelo, Golden Boys with the WBC, we have Canelo versus John Ryder. Now, I'm going to try my best to get a prediction video out for that, even though I think that prediction video it's not going to be hard to do. But if we look at the undercard for this, let's have a look-see, just have a quick preview. There's some fights on this that are looking interesting. You know, obviously Julio Cesar Martinez. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I hope to God that he has... I really do. I hope to God he still has more left in the tank, because over the last few years he's been looking a bit like that. Alexander Vodcek against Ricards Bolotniks. That's going to be an interesting fight. So Ricards Bolotniks is a good European level fighter, it's fair to say, in around there. Whereas Vodcek is levels above him, but he's been very inactive over the last few years. I mean, he obviously retired after the Beterbiev fight, had a comeback against Journeyman in a 6-rounder there back in February. So it's going to be interesting to see. Ring time wise, he's been away from the game. So how many rounds is that over? 10 rounds at light heavyweight. That's going to be an interesting fight. Let's see how that goes. And obviously Canelo versus John Ryder is the top of the bill. So, as I said, I will try my best. I'll try my hardest to get a prediction video out for that fight. It's not going to be the most detailed prediction video. I think many people will know what way I'm going. But look, I just hope we have a good fight. I hope to God that we don't see a repeat of Canelo versus Callum Smith. I hope that John Ryder, Look, he's obviously happy he's getting this opportunity. It's his chance to make some very, very good money, and I hope he comes with ambition and he tries to win. You know, I don't think he will. I wouldn't put a penny on him winning the fight, but I hope that he actually tries to make a go of it. A bit like how Liam Smith did. With Liam Smith when he fought Canelo, it was one-way traffic. But goddamn, that boy kept trying. I mean, credit to him for that. At least he tried and went out. You know, he went out, but he still tried. Whereas Callum Smith, it was just a case of, let me see the 12th round, don't hurt me, okay, where's my money? We don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Now, this video from Physical, where Anthony Joshua basically saying that, yeah, we're throwing it down, him and Deontay Wilder in December. Eddie Hearn, funny enough, has actually been over in Saudi Arabia potentially discussing this fight and hopefully getting it over the line. Joshua all but confirmed by saying, yeah, me and Wilder are getting it on in December. I really hope they do. Joshua Wilder in December. Hopefully with Usyk Fury either on the same card, which is a big ask because that's a lot of money, or at the very least before a little bit or after a little bit, one or the other. But Joshua Wilder, what a fight. Now, Eddie Hearn hasn't ruled out the possibility of Joshua fighting in July. He hasn't ruled it out, but he has stated that, look, they're trying to get this fight over the line. Well, the big fight over the line for December. And the Saudis could be the ones who dictate whether Joshua fights in July or not. Because I'm assuming for them, they're probably looking at Joshua and thinking, okay, we don't want you to take another L. Even if you go in there for a fight against someone you should beat, we just can't say for definite, yeah, you're going to win. So it seems they just want to play safety first and have Joshua sit out the next 8 or so months until December, have him then go in there with Deontay Wilder in what would be, it's a flipping mega fight. It is a mega fight. It absolutely is. Obviously, if this had happened back in 2018, 2019, it would have been even bigger, it would have been for Undisputed, but it's still a mega fight now. In terms of Wilder, you see, this is the interesting bit, right? Will Wilder have a fight in the interim? Because Wilder has only had one round since 2021. Alright, so he'll have only had one round in 2 years by the time he goes in there with Anthony Joshua in December. So he fought last year, one round, a 2-minute job against Robert Helenius, and then by the time he gets in the ring, it will have been 14 months later, thereabouts. So, will Deontay Wilder insist on having a fight against, just chuck a name out there, a Gerald Washington type figure? I know he's already fought and beat Washington, but you know what I mean, that kind of level, to get him in ring shape, to get him ready, because at the end of the day, like, one round since 21, it's not ideal preparation for Anthony Joshua. At least with Joshua, you could say, right, well, it's not ideal that he's out of the ring for the next 8 months, but he's had 12 rounds. He's been in there with Jermaine Franklin. He went 12 rounds. He is, for want of a better word, in better ring shape than Deontay Wilder, who fought last year less than 3 minutes. Not ideal. So it's going to be interesting. Will Deontay Wilder be allowed? You would imagine if they allow Deontay Wilder, and this is just hypothetically speaking, if they do say, right, this fight's going to happen in December, if they allow Wilder an interim fight against someone low level, would they not allow Joshua? Do they have more faith in Deontay Wilder getting through an interim fight than they do Anthony Joshua? I mean, answers on a postcard there. In terms of any other real news, I mean, there's not a lot going on now, I have to say. Joe Joyce says news coming soon on next fight, open to fighting Zhilei Zhang again. Oh boy, I wouldn't be doing that if I was Joe Joyce. It's going to be interesting to see how he looks on the comeback. It really is, because he took a beating in that Zhilei Zhang fight, and if his chin's been cracked or dented, I mean, that's pretty much it for him. If you think about it, I mean, that is pretty much the end of Joe Joyce if that's the case, because he's someone who got by a lot on iron chin, physical strength, good punching power. If you take away the chin, well, yeah, you've not got much there. You've not got an awful lot there. Zhilei Zhang, Gerald Miller, I told a lot of people not to sleep on Big Bang Zhang, gave Joyce a beating. Okay, Jarrell Big Farmer Miller. What, does he know Joyce? Or does he know Zhang? I wasn't sure about that. Alright, this is an interesting one. Zhilei Zhang to Tyson Fury. If you're looking to July, I'll be ready in July. So, I've heard a few people say that it looks like Ruiz may potentially be out of the run to face Tyson Fury in July. And it looks like Zhilei Zhang could be the front runner. Now, I hope that's true. Would I give him a pass on fighting Ruiz? Yeah, because it's better than Chisora fourth fight or something like that. Stylistically, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think Andy Ruiz is tailor-made for Tyson Fury, but at least he's in the top 10 of the heavyweight division. That's fair enough. But would I rather see him fight Zhilei Zhang? Hell yeah. I'd rather see him fight him for a couple of reasons. One, well, stylistically, it's a more enticing fight, because with Ruiz, I look at Ruiz and I just think slow feet, poor head movement. He's not going to get near Tyson Fury. He's going to get his head jabbed off for 12 rounds, and that's going to be that. With Zhang, he's not as talented in a sense of he doesn't have as fast the hands. He's not a good combination puncher. He's not a good counter puncher on the front foot as Andy Ruiz, but he brings a lot of different things to the table. Like, he's a lot bigger than Ruiz. He's a massive puncher. Doesn't appear to take a shot too bad, to be fair. And I think against Fury, it's just interesting. It's a different caveat. And as well as that, Fury has had a tendency to get clipped by the southpaw left. You see that in fights. So, for example, similar-ish dimensions in terms of height will be Otto Wallin. Now, Zhilei Zhang is a better fighter than Wallin. He's bigger. He's a much bigger puncher. But Otto Wallin was able to land that left hand on Tyson Fury. Not too difficult as well. Fury really doesn't have a great defense when it comes to the left hand from the southpaw stance. Now, you can get away with that against someone like an Otto Wallin, because at the end of the day, he's not a particularly big puncher. He's more a slashing puncher. He'll cut you rather than hurt you, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of how Wallin is. Whereas Zhang, massive puncher. I mean, Tyson Fury is tremendous when it comes to recovery. He's probably maybe the best fighter in the heavyweight division in terms of recovery, because you could drop him and like that he's back. Whereas someone like a Joshua, they get dropped, they might get back up, but he needs rounds and rounds and rounds to recover. Whereas Fury, a bit like Tony Bellew was back in the day, it's like you drop him, boom, he's back. So that's always something. But Zhilei Zhang, the power there is going to be interesting. And as well as that, like, you would think just from a marketing point of view, yeah, I get the fact that Ruiz is known for beating Joshua, but that's been nearly 4 years ago. And he's done absolutely nothing since then, since obviously he lost in Saudi Arabia. Whereas Zhang, the public have only seen him a couple of weeks ago knock out Joe Joyce. So if he went in there in the summer, people still have the memory, oh yeah, he's the guy who knocked out Joe Joyce. You know, whereas Ruiz, people be having oh yeah, he's the guy who beat Joshua. That was years ago, wasn't it? Oh, he still looks pretty bad now. So just from a stylistic and marketing point of view, that's why I'd like to see him in there with Zhilei Zhang. And also, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, if you're mandatory for a particular sanctioning body, so Zhilei Zhang is mandatory for WBO, there have been times where, I think it was Brian Jennings is a good example, where if you go and decide, right, I'm mandatory for the WBO, but I'm going to take that WBC crack, that backdates the mandatory with that sanctioning body. So, let's say the WBO are very, very high on getting their mandatory out of the way. But he decides, no, I'm not going to fight Usyk, I'm going to fight Fury instead for the WBC. Okay. In a way, they might not turn around and say, well, that's the mandatory done, box ticked. It could just put the other mandatory on the back. They might just get the next mandatory and just be like, right, now it's on the back burner. Don't worry about it until such and such time. So, could free up a bit of space, hopefully. And we get Fury Usyk in the winter. That's what we're hoping for. Will we get it? I mean, oh boy, if the record so far with this fight is anything to go by, don't hold your breath. But I hope I'm wrong. Anyway, I'll leave it there, people. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Not a long one today, but not a lot of news, so hopefully the week is better for news-wise. So, I'll leave it there. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Hope you all have a great week. Good bank holiday. I don't know, did the UK get 2 bank holidays now? Because the bank holiday in the UK and Ireland today, and then Chucky's getting crowned on Saturday. Do you get a bank holiday for that as well? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoy the people. Smash the like button. Peace.